do this every day.
So you were alone.
I was always alone.
Doesn't she know how hard this is?
She was very sweet, but she wasn't present.
Doesn't she get it?
It's the chronic things that become our everyday.
Like we find our person.
It's the smallest words that can hurt somebody.
The resilience and the beauty that lives within.
I have you to thank for that.
This feeling of anger and blaming.
Own yourself, you did the work.
Walking through these halls, I found forgiveness. I'm Dr. Guldal, and this is Are You Awake? It's almost impossible to live in the present when there's so much clutter.
Right.
So the trick is to clean up enough clutter so that you can be present. And one way to do it is people do it through psychotherapy, right? Or other therapeutic experience.
Mm-hmm.
Another way to do it is through imagery, sound, chanting. You know, the power of chanting is that the sound can change the brain really quickly. When people chant for long periods of time, things just fall away. Literally, it's a vibration like this. You're shaking it like a tree branch, and then the stuff just falls away. Literally is what happens. So the power of that Eastern tradition of chanting and meditating is that it allows some of that to go away without having to always be processing. But you can't be in the present unless enough clutter's gone.
And so my question is...
Or at least without thought stopping.
So my question is, does that make it, when it comes to the show, does that make it problematic, or does it conflict with telling certain stories of your life to, you know, because then it's like it's back in the past.
Well, it's not that the past doesn't exist.
Right.
It's that living in the present means that I'm not responding to what you're saying based on something unfinished from the past.
Mm-hmm.
That's what living in the present means. Because the past is always with us. When we heal enough of the past, it kind of stops existing. Other than, you know, you bring up some things for me that I haven't thought about, because for the most part, they're done. Like, that me barely exists.
Yeah.
Right. So for me to try to go back and remember that is really an effort. But yet sometimes something will pop up and there'll be an emotion. It's like, oh, there's a little molecule hanging out.
Right,
you know,
still chilling hard.
Galaxy.
Hard in the brain.
Like, well, right. It's like, you know, these little holograms of life experiences. They live whole in us. But when things are resolved enough, they're just gone. But in the meantime, you have to be able to at least be aware of why you're responding a certain way. Right. That's being present. Doesn't even mean I have to stop that. It means I need to know that. So if I'm looking at you, let's say you and I are dating, and we've dated 5 years. Mm-hmm. And 4.5 years ago, I made a decision that when you look a certain way to the left, it means something. Okay? You could have changed what that means 100 times over inside of yourself, and we could be sitting at dinner, and you look to the left, and inside of me, I have that same reaction. Oh.
Right.
And for 50 years, we could date, and I would have that same reaction. So I'm never seeing who's in front of me. I'm seeing the thought I had that day. You see?
Yeah.
And those things accumulate. So let's say that day I had said to you, hey, you look to the left when I say blah, blah, blah. And you'd go, I do?
Yeah. Instead of...
I wonder what that means. Oh, yeah, you did. You annoyed me right then.
Right.
Okay.
Right, and then you know.
Or, I was thinking of my mother. Whatever.
Right.
My shoelace was untied. It could have been so benign. But we do that. So being in the present isn't the past doesn't exist. It means when I'm responding to you, I'm responding to who's in front of me in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see the magnolias bloom, I typically always love the way I've always loved the way magnolias bloom. I'm very clear that I love magnolias when they bloom. Do I still? I never asked. Maybe I don't. Maybe I care less. Maybe I like roses now.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't stop to ask, nothing changes. And it's actually the day I said I love magnolias that's existing, not today.
Yeah. Exactly.
So try your question from that perspective.
Well, now I don't know how to.
Because we can't be without who we are.
Well, so this is something... Well, now I don't know if we're having a meeting or recording a podcast. But
Both.
Recording a podcast, I have a question that will turn into a podcast.
All right, so let's do this. You're not speaking enough into the microphone. We're going to leave this raw.
Okay.
Okay, so just an update for everybody that's listening. We were having a meeting, behind the scenes meeting, on how to improve the podcast and what do the viewers want to listen to and hear.
And you should email us
Go ahead.
at Dr. Guldal. No, that's not the email. At connect at drguldal.com. CONNECT at DRGULDAL.com.
And you are who?
And I'm Sam Barton.
So Sam's the one you guys have been seeing. She's doing the awesome artwork. And she's also my person that is bringing everything to me from all of you. So today we were having a meeting because Sam has all these notes on how to make Are You Awake better. And I said, let's hit record. So welcome to our meeting.
Hello. It's about to get real, though.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm not sure you're being recorded. Okay.
Okay. It's about to get real.
Good.
I have been really real. Okay. I have been having this thought in my mind for probably like 8 years or so. That So, okay, this is going on there. So, being a sexual assault survivor, I really have a very difficult time with that terminology. And I want to preface with, this is a personal feeling. This is not something that I'm saying I'm right or anyone's wrong. It's just my opinion and my feeling for my existence. So, as someone who has been attacked and gone to, like group sessions, things like that, when a bunch of women and I are sharing our stories, the first thing that happens is I will say, I was a victim, and I get shh. No, you're a survivor. And I can't even tell you how many times that happens. And I understand the sentiment. Because the words words mean things, and the words you use, the way you talk to yourself is important, and the way you phrase things are often more important than you even realize, because we like things like negative self-talk. Until you pay attention, you don't even know you're doing that. And so it's often been relayed to me that calling myself a victim is a form of negative self-talk. And that every time I talk about it, I should call myself a survivor. Because being a survivor is empowering. And it's often said, like, I'm not going to let this take over my life. Like, you attacker, you evil person, don't get to have control over what I do with the rest of my life. This will not shape me. This will not define me, etc., etc. And I do believe in that, and I do believe that that's valid. I'm not questioning that. But for me, this is how it feels. So I think what's happened in a lot of those meetings, I think what happens when it's talked about, if ever, on TV, it's a lot easier to talk about somebody or a story of rape when that person speaks about it in the terms of overcoming. And it's too difficult to stay. I'm trying to get my thoughts together. It's such a horrific thing that for a lot of people who haven't been through it, it's not something that they can really fathom. It's not a place they want to stay. It's not comfortable to hear. It's not comfortable to know. But if you do talk about it, and you talk about it in terms of being a champ, being a survivor, it's a lot easier to have that conversation for everyone around. And it's really comfortable and easy language to use for, more like general population. And people want to hear that good story, that survivor mentality.
People need to hear the overcome adversity story in order to get through the day.
Right. And I think, or rather feel, that while that should be embraced, when you only get to hear the survivor story, there's a type of unintentional neglect to the victim story. And so for myself, I personally, and this is just me and mine and not a comment on anybody else because we all have our own way of doing it. But for me, I self-identify as a victim because I think that word is often a better representation because of its connotation of what life becomes on the other side of an attack. Did I survive? Yeah, I'm sitting by a microphone.
Talking about it. Using your real name.
Using my very real name.
You didn't make one up.
Sure did not.
You can.
Didn't think about that.
Okay. Go back and make one up for you.
No, it's okay. Because we shouldn't be afraid.
Okay.
I think more people should talk about it.
I agree. Can I interject? But I don't want to ruin your flow.
Yeah.
So we live in this polarity world, binary world, right? Mm-hmm. Victim, survivor.
Mm-hmm.
When you are violated, when anyone is violated, in that moment, there's a victimization, to use that language. There's a trauma to the brain, body, mind, soul, spirit of a human being. And surviving it includes knowing what it's like to be a victim, knowing that trauma.
Right.
Maybe the issue is trying to pigeonhole self into a word.
Yes.
Partly. Not the whole issue, obviously.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think anytime... So there's a lot of wiggle room and a lot of, I guess what I'm saying is sometimes you have to speak in generalizations when you're talking to the public of thousands of people.
But today you're talking to me.
But today I'm talking to you.
And there happens to be a recorder. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
Now what I'd like you to do is talk to me.
Okay.
About what is it for you when you say I'm living as a victim. What does that mean? Because I'd like to step out of the word and into the experience.
Yeah. So often, and I guess it's going to take a roundabout way.
Well, then you're on the right show.
Right, exactly, good. So part of it is sexual assault of any kind is so common that now when I'm with women, all ages, and it eventually comes up, it's sort of like almost every girl in the room is like, yeah, me too. It's never an emotional event. It's like, yeah, I had to get my oil changed the other day too. And that's upsetting because it's so commonplace. And okay, so put that on over to the side. Also, I've never once told anyone my personal story and had them react in a way that was satisfying.
What do you need? What do you get?
So, you get very like, oh, that's a shame. I can't believe that happened to you. I had to fill up my gas tank today. Do you want me to get you a coffee? Like, just, I don't begrudge people of that, I don't have feelings of like, you need to respond in a better way, because we don't get trained. We're not all therapists, and that's not the point I'm making. It's more of what I sometimes, selfish or not, wish to have happen is for that person to look at me and say, this is Sam Barton. I've known her for X amount of years. We ride in cars together. We listen to music together. We break bread together. And this happened to this person that I care about. And for that to be shocking, and it would sort of be really nice for them to break down in tears and just be like, I can't believe you went through this. I long for that reaction. Because I feel like that's a more appropriate reaction to something so horrendous.
Okay. I'm going to challenge you.
Okay.
When you say appropriate reaction, that's a rule.
Right.
What is it about that you need? Because if it's a rule, then it becomes like, how are you? It means nothing.
Right.
Right? Because that's a rule. We all say, how are you? Nobody really wants to hear.
Right.
So if we make it a rule, if we make it the appropriate rule, you're going to end up in the same place.
I guess I never thought of that.
What does your soul need in that witnessing? Because what I'm hearing you say is you need someone to sit witness with you. To share that pain with you. Am I hearing you correctly?
They can't hear me nod my head.
They know you're nodding your head. So when we're in pain, we can get on a horse about what should be, and then everyone's going to fail us.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I am cognizant of, and that's why I say I don't begrudge the reactions that I get, because it's irresponsible to sort of
expect an appropriate response.
Yeah.
So you're being challenged right now because your soul needs something, and the rest of you is doing what we do. We humans, not like bad Sam. We humans do that, and we're in a political arena right now, and everybody's doing that. What should be, what shouldn't be, how everybody should act.
Right.
And what I'm hearing you saying is, where's the compassion? And I haven't, in my personal life, experienced compassion in a way that my soul can hear it.
Yeah, and I think that's what's happening to me when I hear the word survivor, because you get to apply this very positive, strong adjective, and not have to face the horror or the pain that person has gone through.
Yes.
And yeah.
And I believe right now there's thousands of people sitting with us with tears in their eyes, nodding, and you can't see them nodding, and bearing witness with you. I mean, I realize it's a Bible term, but it seems really fitting. right now.
But it's appropriate.
Seems appropriate. Of an appropriate
I
response.
keep saying appropriate, yeah.
So it became for you appropriate. Before we hit the recorder, you were talking about my story and, turn it around.
Right? Right?
About, where was I going with that? About how others can hear and understand. You know? Mm-hmm. I'm experiencing the pain that you have. And you had said to me that you understood why you picked certain men because of therapeutic experience you'd had in the work here.
Right.
Okay? Listening to the shows, being a part of everything, whatever work you've done on your own. This is a similar thing, if I may. The word survivor for others is about their need to manage their experience. When we pick people to share with, we have a need and we have an itch, and we need the itch scratched, not to minimize, but just to kind of give it a global experience. And if I need my back scratched and I go to somebody whose hands are full, I'm not going to get my back scratched. Or who can't see, or who can't hear me. And just like when we pick the partner that's going to keep reinforcing our experience. Yes, people in our culture are all about make it survivor, don't say victim, because women are terrified of being the oppressed victim. And these political concepts, right? The personal is political, and the political is personal. And these become political concepts, and they become concepts, and they take it out away from in that moment of what Sam's experience is.
Pause so I can cut this out, because this is doing lots of things.
Yeah, but it's also, we have to make sure it's recording. You have to hold it.
My arm is starting to hurt because I don't work out.
Okay, I'll hold. So stay tuned for follow-up about Sam's story in the next episode. Please contact us, either me, Dr. Guldal, or if you want to share your story directly with Sam, connect at drguldal.com, CONNECT at DRGULDAL.com, connect at drguldal.com, or you can inbox us at Dr. Guldal on Facebook or Are You Awake on Facebook. Feel free. Any questions, any feedback that you have for either one of us, just let us know who you want to talk to. Sam is more than happy to share more of her story or hear yours. And if you have any feedback or questions from me, I'm happy to offer that as well.